Hey, Aprentistas, welcome to week 12. Here is your overview interview for the week. I know a lot of you are going to Dia de los Muertos with us on Saturday. That should be a lot of fun. It's a really, really cool setup down there. All right, without further ado, here we got week 12. Quick overview. You've got a peer review coming up, a couple readings. Believe it or not, we're going to talk about Essay 4 a little bit, and a discussion. Um, Pretty standard stuff. Let's go ahead and look at the overview. I thought I had that open. Oh, yeah, I did. Happy Halloween. Here are my kids. That's Bilbo, a COVID hazmat officer, and Elvis. Here's a nice little graphic Dia de los Muertos as well. We've got two big things we're going to be doing, like I said before. We've got a couple short readings, but they're both about skin and hair and how appearance interrelates with culture. So I think it's really a couple of interesting pieces there. So let's face it, different cultures and different ethnicities have different looking hair and skin and have different hair and skin practices based on their own values, but also on who's around them too. So along those lines, we're looking at the conch, which is all about trying to straighten hair. Peter Thomas is a really amazing black Dominican writer, and he talks about trying to straighten his hair way back in the day. And this is before we got a lot of our better chemicals now, and the burn and the discomfort. And then we also have Mariposa Fernandez, poem for my Grifa Rica sister, or Broken Ends, Broken Promises. And again, it's about hair. Um, Two quick little pieces, but they should be fun. You're going to have your week 12 comment due. I could open that up in a second to have you take a look at that. Why don't I go ahead and do that right now? 12. Um, oh, I didn't need to do this. So it's just asking you to think about what is considered normal hair, um, and what kind of factors come into play when people try to change their hair away from how it naturally wants to be to something that might be considered normal by other cultures around. And it's a complicated issue, um, but I think it's one worth exploring. Also, coming up, let me go back to the overview. I'm jumping around a little bit. So that's your quick discussion here. On Saturday, you're going to submit your evaluation essay rough draft. Click here. I'll make that link live again. Remember, you can just go ahead and find it right here. Submission. I'll try to make that link live. Remember, everything should be on that module page. Um, I'm asking you to email one of your former peers to do peer review if you want somebody new. Suppose you really like your peer, but you think it's time for you to see other peers for a while. That's totally fine with me. Just let me know. You can ask somebody else, or I can see who comes through the barrel first and hook you up that way. So no big deal there. What you will notice is that you will submit your comments for the discussion on Sunday instead of Saturday, because I know for a lot of people, getting that rough draft done is going to be the bigger push. So let's have that done by Saturday. Um, Sunday, you can kind of slide into it a little bit. Now, um, I have posted the peer review. It's very similar to the first two you've done. And um, again, you're going to see a lot of these questions. A lot of these structural issues are the same. Essay structure, what's the introduction like? Paragraph structure, remember we talked about the track or the TIA model. That's your very basic. Super important to talk to your peers about that. If it feels like you're not sure what that structure is like. I'm also asking about essay content. You know, which ones did your peer use? If you feel like some are a little vague or not specific, let let me know, or let your peer know first. I know a lot of people talk about plot or just the information in it. I saw a lot of thesis statements that said I liked it because of this information and also this information and this information and this information, which is fine, but it can feel a little bit repetitive doing it like that. So I encourage you to move away just from talking about the information. And if you see your peers doing that, have them think about, okay, well, what did they think about the music or the narration style, um, lighting, other things too. Anyway, remember there are evaluation strategies um, that should be taken a look at as well. Um, does the author present the film and his or her judgment clearly? Um, Does the author convince you they had acceptable knowledge on the specific film? Does the author make the reasons for his judgment clear? If the author liked the film, did they explain one flaw? Remember, you've got to be nuanced about it. If you say it's 100% good, people are going to be like, yeah, bro. And they're not going to believe you. It's much harder to be credible that way. The author disliked the film overall. Did they explain at least one strength? Yeah, and if you're unclear about any of those elements, let your peer know. Organization and style. This is kind of your paint job stuff. Remember, the second time around is when you can go back into that draft and look at those very technical writing issues. Wrong words, spelling, subject verb agreement, etc. Finally, the third part, you're going to send this off to the reader. Um, Remember, you're going to start off by talking to your peer about what your three concerns are about the essay. What are the three things that are haunting you about it so far? Now, if grammar is one of your concerns, remember, you got to be specific. If you just say grammar, that's a ton of things. So maybe you want to say, I know I'm still working on a problem with sentence fragments or comma usage or run-on sentences. Those are big. Those are big categories that you can really help your peer focus their spotlight on. So be specific there. Anyway, I'm going to fix this one little part here because I know something weird happened there. So that is that. The other thing we do have to talk about, believe it or not, is we have one more essay coming up, the research argument essay. It's a tiny little essay as far as research essays go, but if you notice, we've got lots of different steps in it. And part of it's because we're doing research. Now, I'll be giving more information about this next week, but you're going to have a thesis or a topic coming up on Saturday the 12th. So it gives you a while to think about it. I've got some information here about different kinds of arguments, and I'm going to be giving you some more information there. Now, here's some requirements. It's got to be 4 pages. It's got to have 6 sources. They've got to be from the Chaffey database or physical book holdings. Use the database. Only one can be from CQ Researcher. No sources from these. Points of View Reference Center, Opposing Viewpoints Resource Center. They're just high school kind of sites. It's not really college. No websites, especially not Wikipedia. If you feel like the information can only be found on a website, I want you to talk to me about it. It's going to take a little while to get used to using the databases, but let's face it, they're important. And please, no Wikipedia. It's going to have a works cited page. It's going to have counter argument rebuttal, and we'll talk about that. Reviewed by a tutor. And here are some possible topics you could look at. Should adolescents need parental consent to get birth control or information about birth control? Should illegal drugs be decriminalized? Be specific. If you say all of them, it's kind of a broad argument. You know, could argue for a citizenship pathway for Dreamers or DACA students. alternatives to corporal punishment or spanking for children, economic impact of undocumented immigrants on American economy. Do they help the American economy? Do they hurt the American economy? Rehabilitation in the prison system. You know, should prisons just keep people away from general society, or should they try to reform them and give them skills for when they get out? For-profit prisons, prisons that make a profit for people who invest in them, is that a good idea or not? Drug rehabilitation for as an alternative for nonviolent crimes, mandatory COVID vaccinations for public schools, mandatory public school uniforms. Students love this one. They love wearing uniforms. Something related to COVID, or you can have your own topic too, but you really just have to run it through me. I mean, run it by me first, um, just so we can collaborate and see what we can come up with together. So we both share expectations about how that essay is going to end up looking. Topics to avoid: abortion and gun control. Every time I let people write on the abortion topic, I think it's an important topic. Somebody uses the Bible as a source. And the Bible is an important spiritual book for many people. I would never argue against that. But it's not really the kind of research we are looking for. If if that's the kind of research people want to do, that's for theology school or for private religious school. Remember, America is a very diverse, multicultural, multi-spiritual nation. You're going to have to make arguments about abortion that appeal to all people, regardless of faith. And that one's hard. Gun control, most people just recycle their high school stuff. Make sure you also look at my late work policies at the bottom. Now notice there are lots of points here for this essay, and there are a few more steps than the other essays, but that's just so we make sure that we are staying on course and we're not falling behind in the process. If you've ever had to write a research paper from beginning to end the night before, you know it's miserable. It's an exercise in self-hatred and torture. I don't want that to happen to you guys. So make sure that you plan ahead. And you can start talking to me right now about topics. I don't expect you necessarily to have a full thesis statement yet. But if you've got something you really want to research and argue about, hey, run it by me. The more invested you are in the topic, I think the easier this project is. Anyway, it's a totally doable project. It's our last big thing for the end of this semester. So once again, we're moving towards some larger projects, but our big ticket for this weekend, of course, is to get in that rough draft. If you've got questions about it before you turn it in, please, please, please feel free to talk to me. Send me an email or a remind text, anything along those lines, so we can chat it up. Make sure we're both on the same page. Until next time, I hope you have a great week and a productive weekend. I hope to see a lot of you this weekend at Dia de los Muertos. Talk to you later.